All right, so Nico Hulkenberg went to Sauber. How does this change everybody else's move during a silly season? Just for the record, I didn't think Hulkenberg was going to go to Sauber. I thought Checo was going to go to Sauber. So this kind of puts a monkey wrench in my predictions, but these predictions change all the time based on new information. So let's get to it. So here's kind of how I see the landscape right now. You have, just in terms of tiers, you have Carlos Sainz. I think is like the number one big prize. Below him, you have Checo, Kimi, Albon, and I know that we all know where some of these people are going. I'm just like putting it out there, right? As to like what are the big prizes in terms of uh, you know F1, right? So this is kind of your second tier. Checo, proven commodity, but he's old. Kimi, not proven at all, but like we all kind of know that he's gonna be good. And then Albon, who's just kind of mid. He's kind of like in between. What I mean? He's not gonna be phenomenal, but he's good and he can get stuff right. Below him, we got Hulkenberg, we got Liam Lawson, we got Valtteri, we got Ali Bierman, all different shades of potential slash experience, right? And then below we got kind of the discards: Joe, Mick, Daniel Ricciardo, and Logan Bald Eagle America Sargent. So let's see this. So we have, Sauber seems set. Um, we got Hulkenberg there, and like I don't think they would have signed Hulkenberg if they could have gotten somebody else. Like because I feel like Valtteri is like a good person to have. Like you're not getting Sauber's not getting people who are better than Valtteri, right? But the crucial thing I think about this is that like they would not have signed Hulkenberg if they didn't know that Sainz wasn't coming, right? Like Sainz is a huge prize, and besides Red Bulls, I'm gonna get into this. Like Sauber's really like his best number two option, right? So Sainz must know something or like have strong indications, and Sauber must have heard pretty definitively from Sainz camp it's not happening. So that's why they pulled the trigger on Hulkenberg, and they wouldn't have pulled the trigger on Hulkenberg if they were trying to get a Checo or somebody, right? But again, like Hulkenberg, I think good tier three. Sauber has 0 points, so it's not like they're going to get anybody better, right? So now when you look at this grid, is where does Sainz go, right? So I got that because you take out Haas, you take out Sauber, and these are kind of his options that are left. The reason why he won't go to Haas, yeah. Mercedes. We're gonna get to Mercedes in a second. Toro Rosso. I don't think he's gonna go back to Toro Rosso. He might do it with like a promise of getting promoted, but that's just kind of humiliating for somebody who literally is the only person in the last 2 years who has won not in a Red Bull car. Like that is incredibly impressive. The problem for Haas is that for him going to Haas, I think, is that Haas is like a Haas is kind of like Red Bull's Toro Rosso, the same way that Williams is like Mercedes' Toro Rosso. So like I don't think he's gonna go to Haas because that's like a demotion within the organization. So I think Sainz is going to Red Bull. That's like he wouldn't have said no to Sauber if that was on the table. And I'm gonna get to Mercedes in a second. So yeah, so who's left? Red Bull's done, Sauber's done, Sainz is off the board, Hulkenberg's off the board. Given all of that, we know that Valtteri is safe and Joe Guan Yu is out of a seat. So this is who we have left. When we go to Mercedes, like I think that this is Kimi's seat 100%, like 95%. And the reason is this is that like if you're Carlos Sainz, this is why I took Mercedes off of his board, is that like this is going to be Kimi Antonelli's seat in 2 years. There's no question, right? Like everybody in Formula One knows this. So like, why would you, as a top tier driver, go to a seat that you know you're going to leave soon, that you're going to get kicked out of? No question, right? Like it's not. You don't have a shot at this. Like maybe what you can do is beat George and then keep the seat. But then, like, Toto Wolff looks at you and is like, well, George is 24, 25. You're 32. sorry, like it's Georgia's seat, right? So I think that they're not going to be able to get Carlos Sainz in the seat. I think they're not going to be able to get Checo Perez in the seat. I think they're kind of going to keep the seat a little bit open, and like Mercedes is going to be like, we're going to try to get Adrian Newey, we're going to try to get Max Verstappen, and if we can do that, then it's that. Then obviously we're going to take that over Kimi Antonelli, but all indications show that Adrian Newey is going to go to Ferrari, and like, why would Max Verstappen go to a Mercedes car that's not functioning well? That just doesn't make sense for him, unless he wants to like prove a point or something, which he could. These drivers are egomaniacs, but I don't think he's going to do that. So now that we have Red Bull, we have Mercedes off the board, we have Sauber off the board, Sainz, Kimi Antonelli, I don't know why I put an X over Ollie Bierman there. Well, I know I do, because he's Haas is the next one up. My computer's really slow today. I think this is kind of what Haas is looking like right now, right? Is that like we have Kimi and we have Kevin Magnussen, and Haas's relationship towards Kevin Magnussen, like the way that I kind of think about it is that like a guy or like a girl can do this too, where it's just like a guy's been dating a girl for like a year and hasn't been dating anybody else, but doesn't want to like say that he's dating her because he's sure that he can get better options, but it's clear that he can't, and like he's just gonna keep on dating this girl. And the girl's okay with it because she knows that she can't get better options. So like these two people are saying they're not in a committed relationship, but like they're in a committed relationship. That's kind of what I think the relationship has been like with Kevin Magnussen. And like they briefly broke up, obviously. But Ollie Bierman, I think, is going to Haas. As I said, Haas is basically for Ferrari's Toro Rosso. I think they're like Lewis Hamilton. He can have the seat as long as he wants it, but he's not going to be around that much longer. Let's train up Ollie. Let's put him in the seat when it's time, right? But the question then is like, what about Checo? Like if you look at this grid, it's like Checo Perez is an incredibly good driver, right? Yet he doesn't really have a seat for this year. I think I copied this wrong. Like why? Like what's up with Checo? He can't. He's gonna lose the Red Bull seat. Not Mercedes. Obviously, McLaren and Aston Martin are off the table. Do you think we could have Checo at Haas? I think I'm gonna call that. I think I'm calling that right now. I'm gonna be the first person to say that. We could. I think we might have Checo at Haas. Doesn't that kind of make sense? Like if you think about it, like Haas is doing well this year. Haas is 7th. It's basically like Valtteri going to Sauber, but like even better. And he can train up Ollie Bierman. I think this makes sense. Like I don't see any other real options for Checo besides Haas. Now, right now, it's a question: who is Red Bull going to give the seat to, Sainz or Checo? And if it goes differently, then everything changes. But I think it's going to Sainz, so that means that Checo's going to Haas. So yeah, let's look at who's left. We got Toro Rosso and Williams. We got Albon, Liam Lawson, Mick, Daniel, and Logan Sargent. Right. So Toro Rosso, I don't think that anybody knows what's going to happen here. I think that when it becomes clear though that Sainz is getting the Red Bull seat, like that completely wipes Daniel Ricciardo out of the equation. There's no way that Daniel Ricciardo is getting that seat then, and I think that Daniel Ricciardo kind of stops pushing for the Toro Rosso seat at that point, because it's just like, what's the point? And I think that Liam Lawson then eventually gets that seat. So I think in the next year or two, we're gonna see that transition. I think it's inevitable. It's just a question of when it's gonna happen. So, maybe Daniel Ricciardo starts next year on Toro Rosso, but he's not. It's not long for this world. And then finally Williams. this is kind of how I see the Williams stuff breaking down. Alexander Albon, I think he's gonna spend his career trying to get into a top seat, but never actually getting one. He kind of, I mean, Lewis Hamilton destroyed his career at Red Bull, but that's neither here nor there. Um, Now the question about Logan Sargent is that, like, again, like, Williams is Mercedes' junior team, right? So we have all these balls in the air. Maybe, you know, maybe Toto does pull off a miracle and gets Max Verstappen, right? Maybe. Why would you want a really good driver in that second seat at Williams? Is my question. Right? Like, let's say, Mercedes gets Max Verstappen, right? Like, or, gets Carlos Sainz, right? Now we have Kimi Antonelli, who needs a seat, um, and you know, it's like, where do you put him, right? You can't replace Albon with him. What I'm saying is, I think the fact that Logan Sargent is a train wreck is actually benefiting him right now, because, like, if you're Williams, you want to have an easily, if you're Williams slash Mercedes, you want to have an easily disposable second seat. And the fact that Logan Sargent is somebody that you can kick to the curb like that, and not a single person in F1 is going to fault you for it, perfect situation. Like, why would you even put Liam Lawson in there? Like, why would you put Mick Schumacher? Like, keep Sargent, and yeah, like, that allows you to play chess, right? And if at the end of this season everything is lined up and you lost out on Sainz, you lost out on Max, you lost out on everything, you lost out on Checo, if you're trying to get Checo, like, then you can make some moves for that second seat. Then you can sign Liam Lawson. Then you can figure out, like, who else is there and put someone in that seat. But right now, it's like, what's the point? So yeah, so